Welcome to the Oil Stream pregame show. Tom Gazzola and Matt Kassian with you as we get you set for the Oilers and the Sabres. Tom Gazzola live on location at Hudson's White Avenue. YouTube Trev holding things down back at ESTHQ. Trev, you didn't want to play the music tonight? What's going on there, pal? Where's he at? All right. Cass, how you doing tonight, pal?
A goalie this afternoon. Little Oilers game tonight, and it's Tommy, we're good. We're in good shape. We're in good shape here. How are you doing? That's what I really want to know.
Doing good, man. I haven't been on location here at the White Ave Hudson's in a couple of weeks, so I'm like scrabbling to get everything set up. Richard's here from the Nasty Chat. Good to see him. He's a OG Nasty Club member, and he's gonna leave me a beer. What a guy! Very thoughtful.
There you go.
So. Love it. Absolutely love it. So get in on the conversation. Hit us up via the text line 780-218-9999. Looks like the text line's working. I know the boys are having a little bit of trouble with it earlier in the evening. And, of course, Nasty Chat was going already before we checked in. Get us those texts via the Nasty Chat as well. Maybe you're making your way home from work. Maybe you feel like getting a quick social sparkler and a bite to eat. Well, pop by Hudson's White Ave. The after-work crowd slowly trickling in. Great to be back here on White. The roads look like they're okay. Traffic wasn't too bad, Cass, on my way in from downtown. So we should be in for a pretty good night against a Buffalo Sabres team that's 5-4-1 in its last 10 games, has given the Oilers some fits. And we'll see if Edmonton can atone for what was a disappointing shootout loss a couple of Saturdays ago or a couple of weekends ago. And then they actually kind of lost that game twice, didn't they?
Yeah. it took two. I mean, they probably should have lost in that first one, but yeah, you end up losing it twice. You have a chance for atonement here against the Buffalo team that is scrambling for their playoff lives. It's going to be an interesting one, Tommy, coming off a game against the Montreal Canadiens in which Edmonton wasn't really great. They weren't great. And you have, I think, an opportunity again to win a game and hopefully not have to win it twice. And hopefully you don't lose it twice in the same game.
Well, that was unique, certainly. The disallowed goal that was offside, Owen Power scoring with, I think it was less than 2 seconds left. And where have we seen that? Oh, yeah, last weekend as well against the Colorado Avalanche. So this is something that's kind of crept up and bit them in the butt the last couple of weekends in a row now, Cass, and we'll see if they can fix that. It was a disappointing afternoon on the post-game show after that loss against Buffalo. Trev and I were sitting in the studio going, what the hell was going on? So we'll see if Edmonton can atone. What did you make of that game Tuesday against the Montreal Canadiens? I know people probably got your breakdown on two guys and a goalie, but here on the pregame show, Cass, if they didn't catch you earlier, that win over the Habs, it wasn't the prettiest thing. It was 2 points, but what was your overall impression?
Yeah, well, I didn't get to watch the whole game, so I just to put that out there. So I didn't get to watch every single play, but from what I did see, I mean it's a classic. You just kind of play okay. You have a 2-goal lead. You think it's going to be enough, and you let a team right back into it. And then all of a sudden you're in scramble mode and protect mode. And, oh, geez, we better get something out of this mode. And, Montreal's a team that I don't know when they turn the corner. Interestingly enough, you're kind of in a similar situation to Buffalo, maybe a step below or underneath Buffalo and in Buffalo's process of the rebuild, but also going through a rebuild stage, also quite young with some quite good young players. You give young guys a sniff, you give them a chance, you let them think they're in it, and they get back in it.
They got back in it.
I mean, and to me, that's kind of how the Montreal game went. Now, at the end of the day, you got the 2 points, which is what you want. You want to keep putting away those points. Wasn't pretty, wasn't the best. Let the team back in it, and you don't want to have that be the case tonight.
Your thoughts heading into tonight's action, 780-218-9999. Are you worried? Did Tuesday's game, which was a win, kind of irritate you? Are you satisfied? Are you okay? Are you confident? Let us know your thoughts as the Oilers take on the Buffalo Sabres. Edmonton 41-21-4. Heading into this matchup, the Sabres 33-32-5. Buffalo 5 points back of a playoff spot, the second wild card spot in the Eastern Conference, being held down right now by the Detroit Red Wings. and some slim hopes with 12 games remaining for the Sabres. Can they get in? I don't like their chances. We shall see. It'll have to start with a win tonight against the Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton looking to continue to cruise, create that separation between them and the Golden Knights and the Kings, and certainly an ample opportunity to close out this 4-game homestand with a victory. So text us 780-218-9999. Tom Gazzola live on location at Hudson's White Avenue. Matty Kassian at his satellite studios in Sherwood Park. YouTube Trev holding things down back at EST HQ. We will be joined by Joe DiBiase from WGR 550 in Buffalo. My old co-host on the Locked On NHL podcast will be along for the ride. Sneaky Joe, he is absolutely tremendous, Cass. He's got that kind of New York, I don't give a you-know-what attitude, and he'll tell you straight up what he feels about the Buffalo Sabres. So when you go and take care of business, because you got the girls tonight, we'll get Sneaky Joe on, and he'll give us the scoop on these Sabres. But before we get to game changers, Cass, let's go to starting lineups for tonight. You've got McDavid between Kane and Hyman, Draisaitl centering McLeod and Fogle, Henrique between Nugent Hopkins and Perry, Sam Carrick between Matthias Janmark and Connor Brown, who's in for Derek Ryan. On defense tonight, Matthias Ekholm with Evan Bouchard, Nurse with Stetcher staying in, Desharnais staying out, Kulak with CC, and as I mentioned, the aforementioned Desharnais and Ryan will be the scratches. As for the Buffalo Sabres, Tage Thompson centering JJ Peterka and Alex Tuck, Dylan Cousins centering Jordan Greenway and Zach Benson, Peyton Krebs between Jeff Skinner and Zemgus Girgensons, Tyson Jost with Lucas Rusek and Victor Olofsson. Rusek playing his first game since that win against the Oilers in Buffalo a couple of weeks ago. So you've got Don Granado shuffling the deck a little bit tonight, and he's got some new forward combinations. On defense for the Sabres, Rasmus Dahlin with Bowen Byram, Owen Power with Henry Jokiharju, and then Jacob Bryson with Connor Clifton out for the Sabres. Jack Quinn, lower body issue. He's on the IR. Matthias Samuelsson, IR upper body. No Jacob Bryson, who had the equalizer in Buffalo. Not a good goal. Not a good goal, I will say that with confidence. No Cale Clegg and no Eric Robinson. That gets us to starting goalies. 25-year-old Stuart Skinner getting the nod tonight. 30-13-4 is his record. 257 GAA, 908 save percentage, 2 shutouts in 49 games this season. Skinner versus the Sabres, a lifetime 1-2-1 with a 249 goals against average, 911 save percentage in 4 games versus Buffalo over the course of his career. As for those Sabres, they're going to go with 25-year-old Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, 23-17-3 this season, 239 goals against average, 915 save percentage, 5 shutouts for Luukkonen in 44 games this season. 1-0 record versus Edmonton. That game, obviously, a couple of weeks ago, 185 GAA, 938 save percentage in his lone appearance versus the Oil. Let's go now to Game Changers, brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent top-producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian Remax realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. He's community-driven, understands what it takes to make a difference in our city, so check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Mr. Kassian, number 1, left side heavy.
Yeah, the Buffalo Sabres defensive group left side heavy all the way through. However, we get Bowen Byram sliding up into that left D number 1 slot and Rasmus Dahlin moving to his off wing, playing on the right side. But really, between Byram, Dahlin, and Power, you have 3 guys, all left-handed, that are legitimate top 4 defensemen. Legit. Really, realistically, you could have one of those guys on ice all the time, the entire game. Pretty solid through that left side. Now it falls off a little bit on the right side after Dahlin for the Buffalo Sabres, but that left side's pretty locked in. Really going to be interesting for a team that, for whatever reason, has had a lot of success shutting McDavid down. You're going to see a Buffalo Sabres defensive group that skates really, really well. Like, if we look at the commonality between Power and Byram and Dahlin, they all move incredibly well. Skate extremely well. And I think that's part of why they've had success against McDavid. Now, maybe not against the Oilers as a whole, and they've certainly had their defensive lapses from the season standpoint. But that left side of the defense, man, that is stacked for years to come for the Buffalo Sabres.
Yep.
I thought coming right out of the trade deadline, they had a couple really good games, and I thought for sure they'd completely turn the corner. Now they've cooled off a little bit since the first couple beatdowns that they had after that. So they're on the edge of the playoff race, most likely going to be on the outside looking in. But Tommy, that defensive group, it's going to be a fun one to watch for a couple of years. A lot, as I said, of mobility, a lot of puck moving ability. It's a good group, and one that, hey, we're going to get to see Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers go up against it and try to deal with a group that skates really well in the back end.
A lot of bad years leads to a lot of high-end picks, and that means that the Sabres on the back end are left side heavy, as Cass alluded to. Well done, Cass, as always. Number 2, I hope I read this right. Hopperik.
Yeah, the Hopperik line.
Okay.
Yeah, Hopperik line with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Adam Henrique, and Corey Perry. Knoblauch has talked quite a bit about trying different line combinations, about trying to find something that fits with Adam Henrique to see what kind of magic they can find there. So a little bit of a different look again here. A little bit of a different spot for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Typically, when he's playing wing, it for the most part is always been with McDavid or Draisaitl, and so this is going to be an interesting look. You have 2 players that play, I would say, very defensively responsible in Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Adam Henrique that positionally are very, very solid, and then some veteran experience in Corey Perry. And for those 2 guys, I mean, Tommy, it's going to be interesting to me because this is a line you look at and you go, this could really be a shutdown line in a lot of ways.
Oh.
It could give lines fits. Like, could they produce some offense? Yeah, you want them to produce some offense, but they're also a line where it's like, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins can play down low if you're in the defensive zone and he's the first guy back and you're not worried about it. Henrique can play down low if he's the first guy back. You're not worried about it. If Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is in on the forecheck and Henrique's your high guy, you're not worried about it. Corey Perry, not the most fleet of foot, but a veteran guy that's pretty good positionally still. And so it's just like there's a makeup there of a line that could be a really good checking line, but could also contribute offensively. So it's an interesting look to me, not one that I necessarily would have thought of. I wouldn't have been like, let's move Ryan Nugent-Hopkins down there. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. And the more I've chewed on it, the more I've kind of been like, yeah, I really do want to see this. Actually, I want to see this line. I want to see how they do defensively. I first and foremost, and then offensively as well. Because Tommy, I mean, this could be potentially if the top 2 lines without Ryan Nugent-Hopkins can produce offensively, this could be a line that is a complete shutdown line. Really, like that potential is there, and I don't think that clicked on for me until this afternoon as I just kind of was sitting and thinking about it. I'm like, this could really be a shutdown type of line, and they could do a really good job of it.
Do you also think that part of this, and this came up on the post-game show, even a little bit on the pregame show when we got to the new lines, I think it was tweeted out, obviously during warm-up, but to get Kane going, Cass, or is that to get Kane going in your opinion?
That too. That's another thing with it as well, right? Like where, you're trying to get. I mean, what is it? He's got no goals in. Is it 14?
I can look it up. I'll look it up.
I think it's like 14 games. It might even be up. I think it's 14. But he hasn't scored in a long time.
Yeah,
and he's only got 3 assists over that same span. Like he hasn't produced offensively, and he's someone you want to get going here. So yeah, giving him a little bit of a different look as well. Trying to just generate some more offense from him. So it's just as much about that too as it is about the Henrique line. So yeah, it's Kane needs to be a guy that's going, and he hasn't been.
Cass, his last goal, he had 2 against Arizona, February 19th. Since then, 3 apples.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's not acceptable.
Nope.
I don't care where you're playing in the lineup. If you're a guy that gets 15 minutes plus a night.
Yeah. Well, that many minutes. Yeah. You got to produce more.
All right. Your thoughts, 780-218-9999 or via the nasty chat. It is the Oil Stream pregame show. Gazzola live on location, Hudson's White Avenue tonight. Come on by, say hello. I've got some GCs to give away. We do have Joe DiBiase from WGR 550 in Buffalo coming up after Cass says bye-bye after Game Changers. Cass has the ladies tonight taking care of business. He's got the girls, so we're going to get him to number 3 on Game Changers tonight, and I love this name. He's a good goalie. It is Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Cass?
And it just, I mean, I know they're not Finnish like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is, but
yeah,
you know, Hooked on a Feeling. It just makes me think of that song every single time by Blue Sweet. Every single time. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Anyways, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole because I could try to throw in a bunch of the lyrics and mix all that stuff in. But
you do you.
Yeah, I mean, for a team that has really struggled the last number of years to find that stable, consistent goaltending, I mean, Luukkonen has been fantastic.
Yes.
Coming into the new year, only 50 goals allowed in his last 26 games. Fantastic save percentage during that time. He is absolutely crushing it right now, Tommy. Playing really, really well. Still young. I mean, when you think about it, it's like, especially last year, because he played a lot of games last year. It's like, this is a young goaltender. And he has come out on a Buffalo Sabres team that hasn't been great. You know, they've shown flashes, they've shown moments, but they haven't been great. And he has had some really great moments. Really, the only reason that they are even remotely close in this playoff race is because of Luukkonen's play. He's been incredibly solid. The last 26 games, like I talked about, with 50 goals, 16-9-1, that .930 save percentage. He has been absolutely spot on. He has been. So hey, Edmonton, you got to sort this guy out. He's Finnish, which means he is monotone. He might be funny because a lot of them are funny.
They are,
but you never know it because it just kind of they flatline. And
yes,
you know, Finnish goaltenders, very, very similar. They seem to all carry those same characteristics. Just the goaltending programming in Finland seems to just produce ones that just are pretty unflappable. And I would say the last chunk of games, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has been unflappable, and it's up to the Edmonton Oilers to get to him and create some noise.
You had Backstrom and Mini, didn't you?
I did have Backstrom.
What a weird guy. I remember him running, doing these little jogging things, and his hands were up here. But
yeah, dino hands when his warm up. Yeah. I actually, back when Columbus was here in Edmonton, so not the one on the road, but he was in town, and I got a chance to catch up with Backy a little bit. So still, I mean, he's awesome. But yeah, he's very Finnish.
He was a very good goalie for a little while. I know you need to get out of your cast really quickly. Norman at Combine, who I saw on Tuesday, and will be at the listener party right here on Saturday night for the Oilers and Leafs, says, "Hey, Tom, I don't think Matt got a word in edgewise this morning on two guys and a goalie. Gager and Dusty were talking about dance recitals the whole time. Ha ha ha."
First 10 minutes. I just sat the first 10 minutes. I just sat there, but it was good. It was interesting. It was interesting for me. I'm like, oh, okay, no, this is good. And it was really, Gager unpacking a story about how there's a family that hates him and doesn't like the Gager family for whatever reason, which is just absurd to me because how can you not love that family?
I know. Great family. You also have a great family. You got Daddy Daycare here. So, Cass, great work as always, my friend. I'll catch up with you on the post-game show. Take care of those girls of yours.
Absolutely, buddy. I'll be back in time for the start, so we'll be good to go.
That is our game analyst, Matt Kassian, with Game Changers, brought to you, as always, by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. All right, I should also mention that portions of this hour brought to you by 100.3 The Bear, Edmonton's best rock. Catch Dusty Nielsen with Yukon Jack and Scott McCord weekday mornings, and check out Jess Jackson, our good friend, on your way home from work every afternoon. That is 100.3 The Bear, Edmonton's best rock. Let's see YouTube, Trev. Where are you at, big boy? You there?
Can you hear me now, Tommy?
I can hear you now.
Oh,
did the music play, or am I just crazy?
No, it didn't. It did through my end. I could hear it. Here, I'll put myself on here. But I could hear it, and then all of a sudden you were like, thanks for the hot start there, and I was like, wait,
that was a hot start.
Yeah, so sorry about that. I looked back and I was like, I couldn't hear it, so I was like, what the heck's going on? But I might have fixed something, because then you asked, you're like, what happened with that? And then I was talking, and then you cut me off. I'm like, okay, nothing must be coming through right now.
I didn't hear you talk either.
Yeah. So that's super weird, but we got her figured out. So let's go.
All right, it's good to see you. Good to hear from you, and I'm glad you fixed it. Jeez, man.
Thanks.
Jeez, Trev. Although the intros that you put together, very nice. Very nice.
I appreciate that.
I enjoyed them.
I don't know if you do. But thank you, Tommy. Thank you.
I do enjoy them. We do have Joe DiBiase coming up shortly. Joe with WGR 550 in Buffalo, my former co-host on the Locked On NHL podcast. Locked On is I don't know. I think most people know the Locked On podcast network, but when they got the NHL side launched, Joe started with Locked On Sabres. I had Locked On Oilers, and then they had us do Locked On NHL together, and we've remained friends. He's good. He's got great attitude, and he's going to be here in about a few minutes' time, and he'll give his hot takes on what he thinks about the Buffalo Sabres and maybe even the Edmonton Oilers a little bit. But looking forward to catching up with Sneaky Joe here in a few minutes' time. This one from Big Slam Nasty texting in says, I love the hot take this morning about Kane giving up contributing for Lent. Big Slam Nasty West End. You want to refresh my memory on that one? I think I missed hot takes this morning, Trev.
Well, that's okay because I lost and I'm on a 8 hot takes losing streak right now. But it's funny. I was telling Dusty after we say the hot takes and then everyone's talking about the hot takes. And then it's a blur. I have no memory of anyone's hot takes. So, yeah, I think Dusty had mentioned Kane, and that was the one that won it. Gager loved it. And, yeah, it was funny, but they absolutely crushed it today. I'm not doing that good in hot takes lately, so thinking about maybe reaching out to some of the nasties, maybe Joe Balaneski, maybe a Box Pounder, Norman the Combine. Maybe they can help me out. They seem to have some pretty good humor, so that seems to win it. But I can't believe Gager. He told me, he was like, you're kind of like the Connor Brown right now. You're so close, and I was like, oh, thanks, Gager. I really appreciate that. And I didn't realize it at the time, but then I'm driving home. I'm like, did you just call me Connor Brown? Like, that's like, what am I talking about here? And I was like, I told him, I'm like, thanks for that. And then, so Gager, thank you for that.
I don't know if I'd take that as a compliment.
It's definitely not a compliment. And at the time, I thought it was.
I wonder if Gager is penalizing you now for winning the first couple and getting a little bit of mojo and swag going. Maybe that's what's going on here. And he's like, hang on, rookie. Not yet.
Yeah. I think,
you think that's part of it?
I think that's gotta be something, but I don't know. You gotta give credit. Like, it's LT and Dusty. Like, they're pretty funny and they're smart. Like, they know it's nothing against. It's not that I'm doing okay, but like I'm playing with like 2 really good competitors, so I gotta respect them. And maybe that's But I'm definitely the rookie. I gotta earn my stripes here. So here's hoping next week. Let's run it back.
You got this. You're a clever kid. You'll get it sorted out. I know that for a fact. All right, 780-218-9999, and then via the nasty chat, let us know your thoughts, how to get to tonight's action, Oilers and Sabres. And if you want, come on down to Hudson's White Avenue. I've got some GCs to give away. I've got some decals and stickers and lanyards as well. I know Richard is here. And we're getting some people coming in, which is great to see. And it's the after work crowd on a Thursday. Weather's getting better. The sun popped out a little bit. And come on down, say hi. And then on Saturday is our listener watch party right here, Hudson's White Avenue. Of course, the Oilers playing the Leafs, 5 o'clock game time. We will be on the air with the pregame show at 3:30 p.m. The whole crew will be down here. So take advantage, and we'll have a lovely time, as we tend to do at any Hudson's location. Edmonton Rob says, holy expletive, does YouTube Trev look different without that damn mustache? Lucky guy to be so handsome. Look at that. People loving you.
Well,
people loving you.
That's nice. Yeah, I haven't got I kind of miss at the time I was like, I like the Stuart Skinner compliments, but I haven't got one in a while, so it does change. It does change the look a little bit. I feel younger. It's a good change, though, but playoffs are right around the corner, and that's what I've been telling everybody. They'll be back.
Yep.
It'll be back, and I cannot wait.
Nice. I'm surprised you didn't do Charch and the Stigma. We're almost there. We've got 10 days to go here.
No, man. I gave it, like, the first week. I told Dusty I'd give it the college try, so the first week I didn't shave, and then I did shave, and I'm, like, looking at myself. I'm like, I'm not going into work with this. I can't. Like, people can pull it off, I will say, but I mean, I can't. And I would be like just putting like all the fellow charge, people that are in charge, they'd respectfully be like, okay, you need to get rid of that right now. Yeah.
I respect that. That is a mature decision from a young man. Let's go into the nasty chat. Jenna says, barf, keep Perry away from my Nuge. We've got this one from Box Pounder says, remember, young Trev, a hot take said with hesitation is tepid at best. That is some excellent wisdom. Joel says, hi, guys, and hi, nasties. Richard is wearing Drakkar Noir tonight, and it did get him a $20 GC. Compliments of me and the fine folks here at Hudson's. And this one from Mr. Perfect says, Gager looks like he's on a constant bender. Well, Gager has to deal with a daughter in dance and a young son who is just becoming a man. So he's dealing with everything right now that a guy in his early 50s needs to put up with. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. All right, we've got Joe DiBiase coming up shortly. Let's take you around the National Hockey League. 11 games on the schedule tonight. Let's get you up to speed. After one, Boston leads the Rangers 1-0 at TD Garden. No score, zip between Carolina and Philly in Raleigh after one. No score as well. Detroit welcoming in the New York Islanders. And in Jersey tonight, you've got the Devils and the Jets. No score so far after one. End of the first in Ottawa as well. The Blues lead the Sens 2-0. And just over 7 minutes left to play in Florida as the Panthers and the Preds go at it. Nobody has been able to break the ice in that one. We've also got Anaheim welcoming in Chicago. Vancouver hosts Montreal. Vegas welcomes in the Seattle Kraken at 8:30 our time. And then San Jose gets Tampa at the Shark Tank, 8:30 start our time as well. We'll keep you up to speed on everything going on around the National Hockey League. The Oilers and the Sabres locking horns for the second and final time this season. Edmonton looking for another win on this homestand, coming off 3-2 OT victory over the Montreal Canadiens on Tuesday. Buffalo, like I mentioned, 5-4-1 in its last 10 games. The Sabres playing the fourth game of a 5-game road trip. They had Detroit, Seattle, Vancouver. They're here tonight, and then they go to Calgary to wrap things up. And then Edmonton, meanwhile, 22-8-3 on home ice this season. The Sabres on the road, 16-15-4 record. If you're wondering, how are the Oilers against the Sabres all time? Well, they have a 43-26-5 record with 10 ties all time against Buffalo. And here in Edmonton is 25-12-1 with 3 ties all time against the Sabres, and Edmonton has just 2 wins in its last 6 home games against Buffalo. Keep those texts coming in, 780-218-9999. We got this one here. Donnie, all the best to you. Donnie was texting in earlier, and I had to correct him on something. Vance Van Vandervan is in on the nasty chat. I love it. Vance Van Vandervan says, Ukka-Pekka Luukkonen sounds like what you have to say before opening the Necronomicon so you don't wind up cursed. All right, Vance Van Vandervan. All right. Derek Knight says, Poopa in net for Buffalo tonight. No, Derek Knight. No Darren Poopa in net for the Buffalo Sabres. Ukka-Pekka Luukkonen, who's having an absolutely tremendous season. And then there was one not roster transaction, but Edmonton did make a move today, signing forward James Stefan to an entry-level contract. 6 foot, 185-pound 20-year-old has tallied career highs in goals, 48, and assists, 51. That's 99 points in 64 games. Out of the Portland Winterhawks, obviously, he did have 3 hat tricks and 33 multi-point games this season. Right shot from Laguna Beach. He's 5th in goals in the Dub and 9th in points. In lifetime in the WHL, Stefan has 109 goals, 145 assists, 254 points, along with 162 PIMs, and he's a plus 79. Now, where he fits in long-term, no idea. And just another signing by the Oil, 3-year ELC. We'll see if he can work his way up. All right, as we await Joe DiBiase, we will go inside the Oilers locker room. YouTube, Trev, who's up first?
Let's hear from the head coach himself. Here is Chris Knoblauch.
Playoffs draw near, and you're trying to get a feel for what works and what doesn't. How's kind of the journey of trying to fit the pieces together?
Well, I think we'll be fitting the pieces together for probably a couple more weeks. We still have 16 more games. Probably when we hit April, it'll be more looking like playoff roster and more, I don't know, less juggling the lines, hopefully.
So at the start of the month, you're kind of locking into what you want to do or think you want to do at least.
Yeah, I think there's still a little more time, and we want to see what's the best for our team, and that'll always change, whether it's opposition that we're matching lines, is it we're on the road, is it who's playing well together. There's a lot of factors, but right now I think there's still some time for us to play with that.
With Corey Perry, there have been times where he's been up on a second or third line, and then there's times where he's playing down in for the fourth line role. What are the signs that you look for, that tell you he can handle the minutes right now? He's having a night where you can lean on him a bit more.
I think Corey's been very consistent on his play. I don't think his juggling, moving up and down the line has been much of what he's doing or not doing. That's mostly what our team's doing and what our team needs, and whether it's we want to be a little more looking for offense, is it more of a checking role, is it whatever that is. But it's more of coach's decisions rather than and often when a player moves up and down the line, it usually is dictated by the player. I think in Corey's situation, he's been so consistent. He's been in the NHL for so long and played many games. Right now, I think what you see is what you get, and there's not much fluctuation to his game. So it's mostly on what our team needs.
Last time we played Buffalo, it was such a weird ending. Can you take us back to just what happened at the end there, and you guys were on the bench, and everyone waited for everyone to come back?
Yeah, it was. We looked at the goal. We saw it. I saw it on the bench. I saw it in the dressing room, and I know our video coaches conferred with the Buffalo's video coaches, and everyone was in agreement that it was a good goal. And we got clarification from the NHL a few days after, and they had video that we did not have. There was a frame in between what we had that changed the decision. So the quality that we had, the feed, it was what we thought it was going to be, and they had something else and changed the outcome of that game, or I guess didn't change the outcome of the game, just the outcome of prolonging the game. That's what happened.
Do you ever get that video, or I don't know if you ever, not that you would need it, but is that something that you would eventually get or even want?
I'm not sure they looked at it. I don't need it was good to have that clarification. We moved on, and there's I've not seen the video that they had and what we then compared it to ours.
How do you feel about the idea of having more potential reviews at your disposal?
It's putting a lot of pressure on the coaches, and just not myself, but mostly our video coaches, who are the ones who review that and suggest we should challenge or not. Because especially the puck over the glass on, is the quality good enough to really see that it went off? You could have a picture of, it looks like it does, but is there confirmation that it did? And now you're looking at, we just talked about the quality of our video, and, the offsides is one thing, and did the puck go off the stick is, I think that takes it to a whole new level. So I can understand what they're trying to do on, if they got it wrong, let's definitely get it right. But, makes it tricky.
The marching orders from your staff, is it give us something definitive, challenge or don't challenge? Is it percentage? They might not always be sure either. So what's your expectation of the message you get from the people that are help make the call?
Well, it's difficult. The situations, it's late in the game. Is it going to impact the game where, let's just say they score with minute to go to tie it, you're probably less likely to challenge it, just because you can still get the 2 points in overtime. But if it's they score to go up with only 10 seconds left in the game, you're going to be a lot more aggressive and challenge those, just because you've got less to lose. Now, the quality, the situation, I don't know, there's so many variables.
But bottom line, are you left saying, how sure is he when you're on the bench? I mean, because I don't think you're talking directly to the videos.
No, I don't have it. One of my assistant coaches does, and he's relaying that message. He's relaying what they see. They look at every challenge, every review in the NHL for last probably 5, 6, 7 years, and they have the best understanding of what should be called and what shouldn't. And a lot of our decisions are based on the information they give us.
Morning, Chris. Sorry, two-part question. Are you going with the same lineup up front? And if so or if not, how did you assess the deployment of the lines last game?
It's always tricky. I don't think it was our best game. Now, is it our best game because we didn't have the right lineup? Absolutely not. It was a team thing where we just didn't play our best, and a lot of credit to Montreal because I did think they played a good game. And we are changing up the lineups a little bit. Connor Brown's coming in, Derek Ryan's coming out.
And Desharnais back in the lineup?
Not yet. So close. We anticipate this weekend.
And Skinner to start?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, there was Chris Knoblauch talking about his lineup for tonight. Yes, indeed. Stuart Skinner getting the nod, and Connor Brown back in action. He of 1 goal all season in for Derek Ryan. Tom Gazzola live on location at Hudson's, Canada's Pub, White Avenue. We'll have our listener watch party here on Saturday night. Game time, 5 o'clock. We get going at 3:30. Join us. Lots of GCs and prizes and stuff to give away, and hang out with our entire EST crew. It should be a great time. Always is when we're live on location. All right, let's go to Buffalo to my pal Joe DiBiase from WGR 550 and Locked On Sabres as well. Joe, I was talking about it earlier. You and I did Locked On NHL. And we had a lot of fun. And I said, this guy doesn't BS. He doesn't beat around the bush. He'll tell you what's up with the teams that are that he's covering and what's going on around the National Hockey League. I haven't talked to you in a while. How you been, Joe? What's new, my friend? Are you married now? Are you in your home?
I'm married. I'm in my home. Yeah, I'm like a real adult now. So yeah, life is good. Good to talk to you too. We made it through the COVID months, which hey, covering the Sabres, we went 9 months without hockey. So you needed to have some around the league stuff during that time.
I'll say this. We've got a lot of Bills fans in Edmonton for whatever reason, and you cover the Bills. I know, right? A lot of Seattle, a lot of Buffalo. I'm one of the I'm like one of 3 Alberta Cardinals fans in this entire province, and you and I have talked about Phoenix a lot, but how was it covering the Bills this past season?
Oh, it was actually, you know what? It's weird. When you cover a team that has expectations and is really good, and you start to get into year 3, year 4, when the team is really good, then it starts to get a little bit more of a negative tone. So I think fans were not too happy with the way a lot of last season went, but I think you just got to sit back, and some people are starting to just realize, hey, like, they're good. We just got to appreciate them for what they are.
Are they in their window? Do you think they're going to win one here?
If you made me bet, I'd still think that they're minus money to win one at some point.
Nice.
I think they're still in their window. I think the idea that their window's closed is a little bit overblown. A lot of the big name veteran players they got rid of this offseason were kind of past the age curve and didn't have big roles at this point anyway. So I thought that was more for pub than anything else. They have 11 draft picks, so I think they're going to be a lot younger and faster than they've been.
I love it. Joe DiBiase joining us now as we get set for the Oilers and the Sabres. All right, Joe. Sabres 5 points back of Detroit for that second wild card spot. I know they only have a dozen games left, but how tough do you think it's going to be for Buffalo to get in? And is there legit hope that maybe they can pull this thing off?
That finally started to happen where there was some hope in the last couple of weeks. And they've been able to hang around. I mean, really, they were more like 9 to 12 points out for much of the season. And to be fair, like what's kind of got them back in the race isn't even really their own play. They're the team they've always been. They don't have a win streak longer than 3 games all season long. They don't have a losing streak longer than 4. Like they are what they are, and they have been all year. The reason they're back in the race is because the teams above them kind of stink. Detroit has completely fallen apart. Like they've allowed everybody back in the race. So dozen games left. I mean, listen, it's hard to make the playoffs not going on one long win streak all year long. So I'll say this. While I don't think it's all that likely, they got one more shot here. They want to go on a 7 or an 8 game win streak because you probably have to do that at least once a season to make it. They got to do it now, right at the end. And if they do that, then I think they do have a legitimate shot.
Joe, they have put together a good 10-game stretch here, 5-4-1. That's respectable, obviously. In the wins, what is this team doing right to keep this late season playoff aspiration alive?
I think they are showing that they can have the right combination of preventing chances while also getting their top players to score goals. Last year, 3rd highest leading scoring team in the league, which had them 1 point out of a playoff spot by the end of it. But they were so loose defensively, tons of chances given up. The goaltending was pretty brutal all year long. This year, they've been buttoned up. They've been a lot better defensively. They've been maybe, a little closer to league average, but last year it was one of the worst in hockey, so that's a big improvement. And Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen legitimately has been a top goaltender almost all year long. I mean, since January 1st, he's got Vezina caliber numbers.
Yes.
And that has continued. So they're getting great goaltending. They are getting great defensive play. The offensive play has been inconsistent, which I think is why that record's 5-4-1 instead of like 7-3-1 or something along those lines. But the defense shows up pretty much night to night, and the offense, it has its moments.
Joe DiBiase joining us now from the Locked On Sabres podcast, as well as WGR 550 in Buffalo, and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. I'm glad you brought him up, because I remember saying to you on the Locked On podcast a couple years ago, I'm like, Joe, I think Buffalo is like a good goalie away from being a legit team here. And do you think, I know you talked about the Vezina caliber numbers in a certain sample size, but do you think that he might actually be the guy?
There's a really good case to be made. I mean, he's still young. The 24-year-old goaltender, like that happens all the time. I mean, locally we have a lot of experience with that. I mean, Ryan Miller did not become a starting goaltender for the Buffalo Sabres until he was 26 years old.
Right.
Linus Ullmark, who's gone on to greater success in Boston, did not become a starting goaltender until he was 25 years old. Like, it's taken a long time for at least the guys here. So not a big surprise to Sabres fans, I think, to see Luukkonen at 24 finally get there after a couple of pretty poor years, I think, to begin his NHL career. He was a high pick, 2nd round. At one point in time, he was the best goalie prospect in the Sabres organization. So while that kind of went down a little bit last year, I think the bounce back is not the most surprising thing in the world. But it came out of left field for me. Like, I was ready to give up on the guy. Like, the AHL numbers hadn't been representative of a developing prospect. The NHL numbers hadn't been. So in terms of the way he was trending, it was a little bit of a surprise. It kind of depends where you set your starting point. When he was drafted, not a surprise. If you set it at last year, huge surprise that he has been like number 1 in the NHL in quality start percentage, which that has its flaws as a number. To me, what that means is he's basically the most consistent goalie in hockey this year.
Man, the 5 shutouts, when I was looking up his stats today, stood out to me, and I was like, this guy is becoming exactly what they need. So good to hear that it's actually something that's legit and not just a flash in the pan. All right, Joe, I have to ask you about this. The back end, there's been some great picks that the Sabres have made. I look at Buffalo. I know they're an analytics-heavy team, and you know, some people love that. Some people don't like that so much, but there's always a healthy balance. But on the back end, I look at the talent, the sheer talent, and I go, that looks pretty good. Matty Kassian, our analyst, who was on earlier, said left side heavy, talking about the left shot demon. Bowen Byram comes in a trade, and then you got Dahlin, you got Owen Power. What do you say when you talk about this back end for the Sabres, and then how is Power coming along in your opinion?
Power's had a bit of a strange season. I'll start with him. Like he is one of those guys, you talk about the numbers, and I'm someone who tries to trust in the analytics and in the numbers. And you're right, the Sabres do value that. I think little part of the reason is that they know it's cheaper to judge guys by the numbers than to fly someone out to Sweden, for instance. Not to say they don't do that too, but I think when you look at the numbers for Owen Power, if you trust in them, you see a player that makes an impact. He's a very good player, and I think that the curve is going up. And we saw this with Rasmus Dahlin too. Took him a couple years to get into that like elite territory for a defenseman. So I think Power's on the right track. But man, he is one of the most frustrating players for me to watch. There are moments where like there's a drive lacking or a competitiveness, and I know a lot of fans for a 6'5" defenseman that is not really being all that physical at all.
Right.
I mean, what do you know what fans want? They want the guy to drive the guy through the boards. They want him to cross-check someone out from the front of their net. And I think that still can happen. He's 21 years old, 20 years old. So his frame will build out more and more, and that can happen. A little bit of a balance there. Frustrating player to watch, but if you trust in the numbers, he's making an impact. Dahlin and Bowen Byram up top have been lethal since they've been put together. And I know the left shot thing is a quick concern, and it was a question that I had right away. But once you start to break it down, Rasmus Dahlin is a right side defenseman. Right. He did it before he got to the NHL. He has talked about what the reasons why, passing angles and whatnot. He likes playing on the right more. He has been better in his career playing on the right. So the rest of it, it's still a little bit of a concern. For Dahlin specifically, I actually think that the way they've added on the left side of their D has allowed him to play on the side that he's actually better at.
Interesting, because they tried Philip Broberg on the right side. Mixed results, obviously. A Swedish defenseman that people are looking to make that next step here. And then they tried Evan Bouchard, Joe, last year on the left side. Disaster. Lasted like a period. Yeah. Absolute disaster.
So, some guys, it does not work. I saw Mattias Samuelsson, who did it a little bit earlier in the season. Power even at times. They've tried other guys that are left shots on the right, and it hasn't gone as well. Dahlin might be one of those special cases where he's better on that side, on his offside.
Hey, I'm glad you brought up Samuelsson. I know he's banged up right now.
Yeah.
He got that contract last offseason. Us out west were like, who?
Yeah, do you remember
Samuelson's son? Like, why? Yeah. Can you give us a little bit of background on that and why they feel so highly about him and value him so much to give him that kind of contract?
It was the weirdest contract and the most surprising contract I think I've ever seen. And the real reason why is he got a contract 54 games into his NHL career. He got a 7-year deal, and he hadn't scored a goal yet. I mean, he's not supposed to be a goal scorer by any means, but like it was just funny. Like 7-year contract, guy hasn't scored a goal for you yet. He had made a nice impact leading up to that, but again, it was only 54 games. They love him a lot as a steady, stay-at-home defenseman. He's a very smooth skater while not being that quick because of his big frame and size. I think he definitely meshes well with the other offensive-style defensemen that they have in their top four. This year was a little bit of a down year for him, in my opinion. I think he struggled a lot on the penalty kill and just playing with Dahlin, who had been his pairing partner all of last season. Mm-hmm. So I still think we're talking about a good top four defenseman. I think the contract is fine. It was a shocker when it happened. It's only $4 million. So there might come a day where that contract looks a little regrettable, but even that, I don't know. He's 23 years old. It's not going to be age that does it. So it was a stunning contract. It's still weird to me that they did it, but I think results-wise, it's going just okay.
A little bit similar for people here in Edmonton to, I guess, Oscar Klefbom, who turned into a pretty steady D-man. If he didn't have his shoulder issues, probably wouldn't have to retire as soon as he did, but we'll see how that develops. 780-218-9999 if you want to text us, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can get into the nasty chat as we get you set for the Oilers and the Sabres. Tom Gazzola live on location, Hudson's White Avenue. Come by, say hello. We've got some GCs and some swag to give away. I'll be here all night. Joe DiBiase down in Buffalo from WGR Buffalo and the Locked On Sabres podcast. Joe, I always ask you about Buffalo. I know it's a great sports market. I've spent some time there. And you got the Pagulas that own both the Sabres and the Bills. What's your sense of the fan base in regard to the Sabres? And then I'm sure they're pretty happy with the Bills and the Pagulas in general. Give me the vibe.
It's weird. It couldn't be more different. Pagula showed up 13 years ago, and he's here. I mean, he has some ties here. I mean, his wife has ties here. His kids do too. But his tie to the area, the reason he's in Buffalo is he grew up a Sabre fan. And he talks about stories where he would drive to a bridge so he could get the radio signal in the 70s to listen to Gilbert Perreault on the radio. Like, he's here because he was a Sabre super fan growing up. The Bills almost feel like more of a business operation to me, and the Sabres maybe a little bit more of the, not quite the play thing, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And the Bills, despite the fact that like that kind of came after the fact, are just so much more well run and are a better organization. If it's so much more in terms of results. So Bills wise, like everything's great. I know like they haven't won yet, and there are debates about coaching and whatnot, but Bills wise, like that's going pretty great. Your new stadium's going up too. Like everything's going fine. The Sabres, like it could not have been imaginable that it would go this poorly. They have not made the playoffs in a full season since he became the owner. This has never happened. Like 13-year playoff drought by 3 seasons. This would be 13. Will by 3 seasons be the NHL record? Like they broke it 3 years ago, and they're still going. It does not happen. No fan base in NHL history has ever been asked to go through a stretch like this, and I think. Yeah, people are about as fed up as it can be. It's a great hockey market.
Yes.
And the attendance has finally started dropping in the last 2-3 years, really since post-COVID. But what I tell people to that is, tell me a fan base that's not going to see an attendance drop in year 12 and year 13 of a playoff drought, especially when it's not even like they ever come close. Yeah. Last year, they missed the playoffs by 1 point. There was not another year where they were within 10. At the end of the season. They don't even get into races. So this is a pretty deflating year. I mean, it was the youngest team in hockey. Thompson turned into a superstar. Dahlin was in the Norris conversation until he got an injury late in last season. And it was, all right, young team, we're growing, 1 point from making the playoffs last year. All we got to do is get a little bit better goaltending, and we're in. And we've got a team here. And to see this year regression, I mean, it couldn't be a more deflating feeling, I think, for a Sabre fan. And, you know, I shouldn't say completely that no one's been ever asked to go through this technically, but like, you'll know, like Edmonton, Florida, like some of these fan bases know what that's like in some way.
Yes.
And I think Sabre fans are going through it more than anybody in the league right now.
I'm glad you brought up Tage Thompson. They got the goaltending. We're talking about Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen just now, and then Tage Thompson goes from 94 points. What does he have now? Like 42? What's going on with him right now?
It's dumbfounding. I mean, I watch him on a night-to-night basis, and I really, truly feel like he's forgotten how to skate. Like, really, like you'll see it. Like he goes down way too easily for a 6'7" player. His edge work looks really sloppy to me. He falls on his own sometimes, and that might be injury. I mean, he's had a couple of injuries throughout the year, and they'll deny that he has an injury right now. I wonder if we'll find out something post season, if he was dealing with something, because it just doesn't make sense. I mean. I wasn't expecting him to score 47 to 50 goals every single year, but come on, 21 and 21. Like that's just that shouldn't be it. Since he's been moved to center, he's never played this poorly. It's really primarily power play production this year. So it's pretty confusing. He doesn't skate with speed as much as he did last year. He's not walking through defenses like he did last season. He's still got that one-timer going, but man, he better figure it out because they don't have another answer, I think, for who your number one center is going to be. And if you don't have an answer at number one center, goaltending last year, when goaltending was the thing you needed to get better at, you could figure that out.
Yeah.
You could get that cheaply. If your problem is you don't have a number one center, good luck with that. That's the hardest thing to get.
Man, he should be that guy for them for the next decade at least, but we'll see if he bounces back. I still look at him and I go, fear Tage Thompson whenever he's on the ice. But like you said, and outlined, Joe, it's just not clicking this year, and we'll see what happens when they if they do garbage bag day at the end of the season. Maybe they make this miracle run. We shall see. All right, Joe, last one for you. This has been great catching up with you, by the way. I'm glad you hopped on today.
Anytime.
Tried to get you last time, but it was a weird afternoon game. We've had a lot of those this year for the Oilers.
Yes.
Yeah, but
morning game for you, actually, right?
Oh, dude, that was a terrible. It sucked. It really sucked. All right, so that was that ended up being a pretty weird finish, right? Power scores that goal.
So weird. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
Well, Trev and I were getting ready to start the post-game show, and I'm clicking the NHL website to get the game stats, and it's still like 2.5 seconds left. 2.5 seconds. I'm like, what the hell's going on? I go back into our lobby area in our studios, And I look and they're reviewing it, and I go to Trev. Trev, they're gonna do a shootout here. And you know what's funny too? The Sabres almost scored with that 20 seconds that they put back on the clock. That's how bad the Oilers played that afternoon, and how good the Sabres were able to play. Since then, obviously Buffalo's had a good little run here. What do you anticipate tonight between the Oilers and the Sabres?
I really wonder what we're going to get. The Sabres have weirdly, and I don't know what this is, could just be complete happenstance and coincidence. They have done the best job in the NHL at defending Connor McDavid in his NHL career.
Yeah.
The only team in the league that McDavid is not over a point a game against for his career is the Sabres. To be fair, he is at exactly 1 point per game against the Sabres, so he's not under a point per game against anybody. I really wonder if they could get boat raced in this game. They were horrific against Vancouver on Monday. To be fair, or Tuesday, it was the second of a back-to-back, and Vancouver's a very good team in their own right. It was the most. I like my numbers. It was the highest expected goals against number they had given up in over 10 years on Tuesday. So they're coming off a really poor performance. I guess you could say that would fire them up for tonight's game. But the way they've been looking as of late, I expect that they'll do a decent job defending the Oilers, because other than that Vancouver game, they've been very consistent at defending. Luukkonen's back between the pipes tonight. It's hard to predict what the Sabres will get in terms of result, though, because they're so Jekyll and Hyde with their production up front. There's not a single forward, I think, right now you could count on a consistent basis. Jeff Skinner wants to hat trick on Monday. He could show up. Thompson, he scored on Tuesday. He could show up. Tuck could, but Peterka has been on and off all season long. I mean, any number of 7-8 forwards, I think, could show up for the Sabres tonight, or they could get none of them too. So I think they'll keep the Oilers from putting a bunch in, but I wonder how well the Sabres will do offensively.
Edmonton didn't do too great against Montreal the other night, let a 2-goal lead slip away, and barely got the win on the power play in OT. Joe, I think we're in for a good one. Thanks for doing this. So good to catch up with you, man. We got to do this more often.
Definitely, man. Anytime. We got to get to Arizona and do some golfing soon too.
Hey, I'll be there this summer.
All right. Maybe this summer.
It's
hot in the summer there, though.
Hey, bring it on, man. You know how cold it is here? It snowed today.
It snowed here, too. All right. You're good.
Hey, that's the plight we deal with living in Edmonton and Buffalo. Good to see you, my friend.
You too, man.
That is Joe DiBiase, WGR Buffalo, and the Locked On Sabres podcast. Absolutely tremendous to catch up with him. Follow him, Sneaky Joe Sports, on X, and it is highly entertaining. Joe does not hold back. He was excellent, as always, tonight. YouTube Trev, what'd you think of Sneaky Joe?
Yeah, a lot of good insight. That was awesome to hear from him, actually. I just looked him up because I didn't even know that you were had ties with Locked In, so that was kind of cool to learn that. Right before I got the gig here at EST, Locked On, they wanted me to do the show. I know Hernan Salas did it before.
Yes.
And right before I got at EST, but I was like, I have something else I might, I'm a little bit more intrigued in, but
Absolutely.
he had great insight there. It was, right to the point, but, man, he could just break it down very good. So it was, there's no, I see why he has the following he does, because that was, very clear and concise for a lot of viewers. So it was good.
I love it. Sneaky Joe Sports, Joe DiBiase, WGR Buffalo, and, you can catch them on the Locked On Sabres podcast. All right. Keep those texts coming in, 780-218-9999. I've got a few to get to here. Joelle was worried because she heard sirens. Those were from White Avenue, Joelle, not your place. Maple Jed says, I couldn't figure out why my teenage daughter kept giving me a funny look. It was about the 5th time you said box pounder. She finally asked if that was what you were really saying and why anyone would use that handle. I had no reply. Reasonably. Yes, understandable. Neil with the interesting handle that he goes by on the Nasty Chat and in our inbox. This text says, Janias here. Question for YouTube, Trev. Which player are you hoping will shine out more than the others today? Also, who's your favorite player on the Oilers roster as of now? And YouTube, Trev, Janias wants to let you know that they watch all of your YouTube videos and likes to drop a like on them and a thumbs up. So there you go. You got a fan.
That is that's very nice. That's awesome to hear that. I love that. That's pretty cool. Who's my favorite Oiler was the first one, or that was part of it? Right now. Oh gosh, I'd probably, this is an easy answer. I just Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I guess I grew up watching Nuge, and I remember his first game. It's very fond to me because I didn't watch a lot of hockey games with my grandparents in Manitoba, but I watched that game. That was also the same game that the Winnipeg Jets were back in the NHL. So I was in Winnipeg. We got back, got to watch the last half. They were playing the Pittsburgh Penguins, and he scored against in his first game against the Penguins. And then right after that, he got a hat trick against the Canucks. So Nuge has been a pretty cool player to watch. I love it. It blows my mind still to this day, the fact that there's never been an Oiler drafted and like played out his whole career. So, and he looks, that's the storyline with Nuge, right? He might be Nuge for life is the saying, and he might be the first Oiler to ever don the blue and orange for his whole career, which is really cool. So I think it's nice to see like he's found a way. He's always found a way. He's so underrated. I remember the North America, the Worlds that they had, and he was on the Young Guns team, and Todd McClellan had come back, and all the players were talking. Like, they had Nathan McKinnon on that team, Austin Matthews, Jonathan Drouin, some pretty good players, and they were all just like, wow, like Nuge is just blown away. And McClellan talked about it. He was like, they were, McDavid's one thing, but they were just like very surprised with how good Nugent-Hopkins is. And he's slept. He's an underrated player. I love Nugent-Hopkins, so I think that's my safe pick, and I think a lot of Oilers fans will agree with me there. So, yeah, I got to go with Nuge. And as for the other part of that question, players that will shine tonight for the Sabres or the Oilers? What was it? Or just in general?
I think probably for the Oilers or in general. Your thoughts?
You know what? While we're talking about Nuge, there was a comment on the morning show today that Nuge is, he hasn't scored in a while. So I was actually thinking that earlier today. I was like, I wouldn't mind seeing that. But you talk about Sneaky Joe. He brought it up. Connor McDavid. This is he hasn't got 3 points. That's the only team he hasn't got 3 points against is the Buffalo Sabres tonight. So could we see that happen? Maybe he likes to. I don't know. He likes the competition. He likes the test. It very well could happen. But I love the third line look. I'm really happy to see. I think Nuge he's a natural center. You have Adam Henrique. I think he's going to be slotted on the left wing. I'm really going to like that line actually. So let's go with a third line goal. I think Nuge or McDavid. They're going to score tonight.
All right, I like it, Trev. Nugent-Hopkins 3 points in his last 4 games, and all assists, like you mentioned, Trev. His last goal coming back on the 26th of February against. Who was that? The LA Kings. He had a 2-point night, a goal and an assist. And then he had a 2-point night the following game, 1 point the next game against Seattle, and then went pointless for 4, then an assist, then 2 assists, then no points in his last 2 games. So you'd like to see him get on the score sheet in the goal column. Does it happen tonight? We shall see. I saw this text come in from the Wolf, and it's in the nasty chat as well. The Wolf says, hello, Nasties and Tom. My coworker bleeds and works in oil, and he has been all over the EST content this week with me. He literally just ran on site when I told him the EST pregame was on. The Wolf, you tell him I said I appreciate it and pass along a thank you from YouTube, Trev, and myself to bring on a new Nasty. We love it. Absolutely love it. We're growing the YouTube numbers, which is nice to see continue to grow. And then our listenership has been very strong, whether you're listening on our EST website or audio stream, or if you're listening on TuneIn or iHeartRadio. We appreciate you so very much. And we can't do this without your guys' support. And it has been an absolute blast. What are we in? 6 months, 7 months, something like that? I can't remember. But it continues to grow. And tell your friends. And I love hearing people say, hey, listen to the show. Watch the show. That was great. I like that guest. I like that guest. That was awesome. We love that feedback, and it's not always positive, but you need some negative as well if you need to improve. So we appreciate it as always. Having said that, 780-218-9999 or via the nasty chat, hit us up. Jenna says Nuge is huge. In some countries, they think he's a witch or a wizard or something legendary. Corby says, who is James Stefan? James Stefan was signed by the Oilers to an ELC today, 3-year deal, 6 feet tall, 185 pounds, 20 years old, 48 goals, 51 assists this season. That's 99 points in 64 games with the Portland Winterhawks and 33 multi-point nights so far this year. He's from Laguna Beach, California, and is 5th in goals in the Dub, 9th in points, and in 251 WHL games with the Winterhawks. 109 goals, 145 assists, 254 points. So point-a-game guy in the Dub, and he's added 162 PIMs. And you're like, what's his plus-minus? Plus 79 in his time in the Dub. So, Corby, that is James Stephon. All right, let's go back inside the Oilers locker room. Trev, where do you want to go next?
I was just talking about him. Let's go to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
Yeah, hopefully just the one. It hurt a little more losing twice. So, yeah, it was a weird situation. Gave us another chance, but obviously didn't get the extra point anyways.
Okay, not to look back too much,
Yeah.
but obviously you guys are 8-1-2 in your last 11 games. So you guys, I think, have found the ability to bank a lot of points, or even on a couple nights where maybe you guys have said after the game you didn't like parts of your game.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, getting points at any point in the season is very important. Right now, obviously, when you're kind of you're fighting for position, jockeying for position a little bit, it's very important. So, I mean, we'll take them any way we can get them. I still think we'd like to elevate our game for full 60 minutes to the point where we know it can be. Tonight will be a good test. This team always starts off fast and got a lot of skill to kind of want to push you back, so we got to control the pace from the start. But I thought the other night, it wasn't like we played a terrible game, but I think we let them control too many parts of the game and dictate the pace of it. Probably a little bit in the third and at other times throughout the game.
You spent a good chunk of the season with Connor's line. Guys want to play with Connor. They want to play at the top. They want to play power play. Now you got a coach with a few games left here that's slotting guys around. He's trying to make his best playoff lineup. How does the attitude of players change as we start to put together a playoff team as opposed to the November team? Yeah, I think, I mean, at least we don't hear it in the room. Guys aren't worried too much about where they are in the lineup. Everybody wants to play. Everybody wants to be a part of a winning team, and I think mentally, I mean, we start talking a little bit about it more. We know what's coming. I mean, we still have 16 games, I think, left here, so our focus is on those 16 games. But when you get to this point in the season, of course, in the back of your mind, the playoffs are there, and you want to start ramping up your game individually and as a team. We got a good chunk of games here. Pretty tightly packed too, so it's just going to be a lot of practice, playing. So it's a good opportunity for us right now to kind of ramp up our game and see where we can get it to.
When you know you're going to go play with, as you did with Adam Henrique, and you're supposed to be kind of more of a shutdown line, do you kind of look at the other team's top line ahead of the game a little bit more in a different way? Like you got to shut those guys down versus be more primarily concerned with scoring. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think for most top lines in the league, you know them well enough, but mentality can shift a little bit. But I think the important thing when you play against a line like the Suzuki Caulfield line, I mean, you want to play in the O zone as much as possible, and you don't want to let them have any opportunity in your zone. You can defend them as well as you can, and really good players, really good lines will find ways to make you pay, and so it's just limiting their opportunities down there. Off the rush too, I think we do a really good job of having an F3 and having guys coming back hard, so that's usually not too much of a problem. But yeah, I think the mentality can shift a little bit, but I think the most important thing for us is to play in the O zone and not give them any easy opportunities.
There's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins playing on a line with Adam Henrique and Corey Perry tonight. Nugent-Hopkins, 16 goals, 42 assists, 58 points, plus 10 with 32 penalty minutes in 65 games, 3 points in his last 4 games, all assists, pointless in his last 2. So looking to get back into the goal column. Hasn't done that since February 26th. And you'd like to see him bump up those totals. Maybe he gets to, 70 points? I think that's respectable. And he did have that 104-point season last year. So We knew it would be lofty, but 70 to 80 points for Nugent Hopkins, I think most people would be pretty pleased with in general. You heard Trev talking about his appreciation for the Nuge, a guy that the Nuge will be playing with tonight, Corey Perry, on the other side of Adam Henrique. Let's hear from the veteran that the Oilers signed later this season.
Just a thought on kind of where the overall game is as a team and some of the things you're trying to tweak down the stretch here to make sure it's where it needs to be for playoff time.
Well, I think you can just take one thing out of last game is you can't let your foot off the pedal. You have to play a full 60 minutes, and I think in the third period we kind of came out a little flat, and they took advantage of that, and we couldn't really find that momentum to get it back. So, those are little things that we're going to learn along the way, and be prepared when time comes.
Even the best teams have these these little letdowns here and there. I would imagine it's about the process, kind of how you respond, what happens in there. You've seen what it's supposed to look like. What would you say about this group?
Yeah, we've talked about it. We know it's something that we have to take care of and be aware of it. And when playoffs do come and things get magnified, and that the momentum shifts in a series, those things can be big impact on a series. So you want them on your side, and you want them going your way, but you have to be prepared to handle it different ways.
Corey, you've scored 50 goals in this league. Zach Hyman is getting close. How tough is it to do that? You did it once. How tough is it actually to score 50 goals?
It's not easy. You need a lot of bounces. You need a lot of good things to happen. But you see the way Hyman scores his goals, and I think there's a chart out the other day. He's got one outside of the house and in that 10 feet area of the net. And if you want to score goals in this league, that's where you want to go, and that's where you have to go.
Similar to you.
I guess, yeah. Kind of play the same type of role in the offensive zone, I guess.
Any similarities between Ryan Gazzola setting you up and the way Connor's maybe been able to set him up?
Well, I don't want to put Getzy down, but Connor might be a little bit quicker. But no, Getzy, I mean, they're both tremendous players. They both see the ice very well, and playing with Getzy is for all those years was definitely beneficial for me.
Not to take anything away from your season, obviously, but Zach's a little bit older than you were when you did that. Is it, when you get a little bit older, how hard is it to kind of continue to do that and to produce at that?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. It's like you said, he's not getting any younger. So, but he still plays the same way as he did when he was younger, and that's good to see.
You're playing a Buffalo team tonight that's been rebuilding, and they're starting to get some traction here. You've been part of a bunch of different teams. You were in Chicago. That's a full rebuild going on there. What are the perils, like inside the locker room, what are the perils of setting up a team that's going to lose for a long time before it starts to win?
Well, it's not fun when you're losing, but you have to set the groundwork and work your way up, and it's just about being getting those basics down, good habits, and then and work from there. So Buffalo has been playing well, and we saw that a couple weeks ago when we were in Buffalo. Them coming back on us. So, it's still fresh in our mind, and we still understand what's at stake.
Here, listen, everybody wants to play with Connor. Everyone wants to play power play, top six. I get it. You got a coach who's trying to figure out a playoff lineup here. He's working his third line. He's moving guys all around. Inside the room with the players, how important is it to kind of everyone put their ego aside and their wishes aside and find a slot that makes you a better team?
Well, that's the biggest thing, right? Is you check your ego at the door, and it doesn't matter where you play, how much you play, as long as the team's winning. That's all that matters when playoffs come around. And any given night, it's going to be somebody different, making a contribution or helping a team win, whatever it is. Regular season might be, you want your time, you want your minutes or whatever. But when playoffs come, push comes to shove, it doesn't matter who's out there as long as you're getting the job done.
There's Corey Perry. Some wise words there from a guy that's been around the block for quite some time, playing with Adam Henrique and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Tonight, if you're going, hey, what's the lineup looking like for the Oil? Here it is from warm-up, and we had it earlier in the show. This is how they're going to roll things out against the Buffalo Sabres. Connor McDavid with Evander Kane and Zach Hyman. You've got Leon Draisaitl with Ryan McLeod and Warren Foegele. Adam Henrique between Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Corey Perry. We heard from Henrique's wingers earlier and just now. And then you've got Carrick with Janmark and Brown. So Brown in for Derek Ryan. On defense, you've got Matthias Ekholm with Evan Bouchard. Darnell Nurse with Troy Stetcher. Brett Kulak paired up with Cody Ceci. So another game for Vinny Desharnais to let his finger rest up and get better. Stuart Skinner starts in goal for the Edmonton Oilers. And if you're going, well, how about those Buffalo Sabres? I'll tell you. Tage Thompson centering J.J. Paterka and Alex Tuck. Dylan Cousins between Jordan Greenway and Zach Benson. Peyton Krebs with Jeff Skinner and Zemgus Girgensons. Tyson Jost between Lucas Rusick and Victor Olofsson on defense for Buffalo tonight. Rasmus Dahlin with Bowen Byram. Owen Power with Henry Jokiharju and Jacob Bryson with Connor Clifton. No Jack Quinn, IR lower body. No Matthias Samuelsson, IR upper body. Jacob Bryson is in. Eric Robinson is out. Cale Clegg also out. Starting in goal for the Buffalo Sabres. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, the 25-year-old with the excellent name to pronounce, 23-17-3, 2.39 goals against average, 915 save percentage, 5 shutouts in 44 games this season. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is 1-0 lifetime versus Edmonton. That game a couple of weeks ago. 185 goals against average, 938 save percentage in the lone appearance versus the Oil. All right, we're talking about the Sabres. We had Joe DiBiase from WGR 550 in Buffalo and the Locked On Sabres podcast earlier, talking about the Sabres team, the frustrations in Buffalo from the fan base. It's a great fan base that has dealt with 13 really rough seasons, and you thought the decade of darkness is bad. Well, Buffalo Sabres fans are going into a decade and a half of darkness, although Buffalo is 5 points back of a playoff spot heading into action tonight. They have a dozen games left. So a slim glimmer of hope for Don Granado's Sabres. Speaking of the Sabres head coach, let's go to their locker room and hear from him this morning.
Sorry, Tommy. I actually...
What?
Wait. Give me... Oh, I'm sorry. I did see that. Okay, wait. I'll grab that in like 1 minute. Is that okay?
No, I'm very upset now.
My apologies. I'm
kidding.
Sorry.
You didn't have it. I'll just go to some text. 780-218. 9999. Box Powder says, Tom likes saying Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Yes, I do. It's a very fun name to say. Ace says Oilers going to win by give or take 12. That is very, very optimistic, Ace. And Vance Van Vandervan replying to Jenna says, who said Nuge said jockeying like horses. Get it? Jockeying. He's hilarious and handsome. Vance Van Vandervan says, Jenna, in old Scandinavian, Nuge is the name for a horse that breathes fire from his eyes whilst stomping his betrayers under its knife-shaped hooves. Vance Van Vandervan, where you come up with this stuff, God only knows, but absolutely fantastic. Richard welcoming in the new Nasties. I love it. This is great. What else do we have here? Let's go. I'm looking through the nasty chat. Vance Van Vandervan. All right, you guys chatted up. I appreciate that. Jasmine chiming in says, hey, Neil had such a nice conch for everyone this morning. I love to hear it. That's fantastic. Let's do a quick look at what's gone on around the National Hockey League so far. 11 games on the schedule, obviously, including the Oilers and the Sabres. Right now in Boston, where Celine Dion read out the Boston Bruins starting lineup, much to the chagrin of Habs fans, I'm sure, as our good friend Arpon Basu pointed out on X. The Rangers lead the Bruins through 2-1. Carolina up 2-1 on Philly, who did not play Sean Couturier again. That game in Raleigh, that's after 2. Detroit leads the Islanders 3-1 at Little Caesars Arena through 2. And then in Jersey, 1-1 between the Devils and the Jets after 2. End of second period in Ottawa, 3-1. The St. Louis Blues lead the Senators, and then you've got the Preds, who continue to play well, up 2-0 on the formidable Florida Panthers. 10 minutes remaining in the second period, 2-0 the score there. You get Chicago visiting Anaheim later, Montreal in Vancouver. The Kraken visit the Golden Knights, the two fresh bebés in the NHL going toe-to-toe tonight. Then Tampa visits the Shark Tank in San Jose. 780-218-9999. Joel says, you are one of a kind, Vance Van Vandervan. Couldn't disagree. Actually, couldn't agree more. I don't disagree at all. All right, let's go inside the Sabres locker room. YouTube, Trev, very speedy with that.
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah. My apologies for that. That's the first time I've missed a clip. So yeah, sorry about that, guys. But let's hear from the Sabres head coach, Don Granado. Here he is.
When you think back to the last game against Edmonton and Buffalo a few weeks ago, what stands out about the way you're able to limit some of their top guys?
Well, it was a wild game. That's what stands out. Obviously, with the overtime goal that Owen scored and then was called back, and us coming out, I think we had another chance right away, but it went to a shootout. That's in memory. You never feel like you limit that team because they're so explosive and dynamic, and you certainly go into tonight's game very aware of how dynamic and explosive they are, and obviously talented.
Generally, with the changes to the power play groups, what are you looking to get those guys to, I guess, focus on?
Well, I want to snap them out of there. I thought we were stagnant the other night in our own heads a little bit, and I guess you can't be in your own heads a little bit. You're in your own head a lot, and we want to just have a better attack mentality and simplify, simple and direct, harder. So a couple tweaks there. Obviously, Greenway was one of them, and that's more size and net presence or size down in front of the net with him and Tuck, and that's important.
How do you view seeing Bo Byram really just acclimate and get adjusted these last couple of weeks since he's arrived?
Yeah, and he's adjusting. I mean, the potential of Bo is significant. So no matter how good he's been, and he's been good, there's so much more, and you can see that. You see it from the bench in the game. You see it. You watch and you're like, oh boy, he's going to be so much better as he gets acclimated, as that process moves on. And then obviously post-game with video and just discussions, there's so many opportunities for him and for us with a player of his talent to take things to take advantage of. And he's another fun player to have.
Bringing him in, is that a situation of you can never have enough really talented defensemen on your blue line?
You love talented defensemen. They control the game. Not only are they the quarterback. I say, if you're using analogy of football, they're not only the quarterback because they move the puck up the rink or the ball up the field, but they're the top defender as well. And they're a free safety. They're a defender lineman. So they play. There's so many different hats they fill that either controls the game or the game will control you if you're not good in those positions and deep in those positions. And something that Kevin Adams has worked on very hard. We've had a very, very young D-corps, and I'm sure we're hundreds and thousands of games below the other team as far as you look at the top 6 defensemen we have every night. But they're talented and they're good and they're getting better every day. And that's again, it's a tougher to have that all the youth, but we know these are talented guys and they just keep getting better.
Bringing him a guy like him, does it take a little pressure off Rasmus and Owen as far as they have to provide all the offense from the back end?
It does. It takes a lot of pressure off both Owen and Dahls, and it complements those guys. It's another guy as you mentioned. It's a talented guy. The interesting thing is that he and Owen Power have played just about as many games as each other. I think there's a 2-game difference. So, we bring in a guy that our perception is this guy's so experienced and he has the experience of playoffs and Stanley Cup. But as far as sheer game numbers, he's virtually the same as Owen Power. That's how young he is, and that's exciting.
Any lineup changes you're considering for tonight?
We will have some lineup changes. Rusick will go in for us. Robinson out, and defensive end will stay the same. Obviously, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has been our number one, and he didn't play the other night, so natural we go back to him.
Saw JJ skating with Tuck and Thompson. What do you like about the potential for the three of them?
Potential. That's what I like so far. I hope I'm telling you what I like after the game, but potential.
There's Don Granado, head coach of the Buffalo Sabres, taking out the Oilers tonight. Edmonton looking to atone for what was a disappointing loss to the Sabres a couple of weeks ago, losing twice, really, in overtime, and then that was waved off on an offside after review, and then they lose it anyway in a shootout. That game back on March 9th. We'll see if Edmonton can provide a better 60-minute effort. They did have a 2-goal lead in that game. Absolutely blew it. Absolutely blew it. Let's go to the inbox really quickly. And the nasty chat. I'm going to start in the nasty chat. Ramo Malella Jr. Any relation to Cole, my good friend? What the hell is with Torts and scratching his captain again? There's obviously someone in deep water. Who knows why John Tortorella does what he does? John Tortorella is going to John Tortorella until the cows come home, and it is very frustrating. You scratch your head and go, I don't know what's up with that guy. I did enjoy the way he handled the thing with the ref last week. Outside of that, he annoys the hell out of me, and I'm not ashamed at all to say it. Can't stand John Tortorella. This one says, it's from Jim, says, Sabres going to be tough to beat. Jenna says, Celine Dion kicked my dog. Norman Combine says, let's go EST and lock shop parlays. Ace 96. If Oilers bring their B+ game, they will win. If they bring their A game, they will win easily. If they play their C game, they will lose. And Vance Van Vandervan replying to individual messages. Love it. A couple more here in the inbox. This one says, EST is leaps and bounds above TSN 1260. I love the YouTube aspect of it. I just hope you guys get enough money from it to be able to keep it going for years. We do too. So far, so good. It's been working. We're adding more. We're looking to add more, and advertising on our station works, as Dusty Nielsen likes to say. We've got some great partnerships. Happy to welcome in 100.3 The Bear, and you can catch Dusty on with Uke and McCord every morning during the week. And then catch Jess Jackson on your drive home. Jeff is lovely, one of the best in the business, and one of our dear, dear friends. So glad to have them on board. And we've had some more partnerships hop on, which has been absolutely tremendous. You'll hear more later on the post-game show, welcoming in Christopher Boyle, as well as we've had Damon Bunting on the pre- and post-game show all season long. And then I'm here at Hudson's White Ave. We have our watch party and listener party on Saturday at this location. I see Oilers fans starting to trickle in. You've got all the TVs here. Uncle Gene's on the screen doing his thing. So come on down. I've got some GCs and some swag to give away, some EST stuff, and it'll be a fun time. As always, I'm going to end it here with Brandon in Halifax, who says, go Oil, go, just on the way home from the kids' hockey game here in Halifax. Obviously listening to our audio stream or on iHeartRadio or TuneIn, or you watched on YouTube. You know we love you and we appreciate it. Big thank you to Joe DiBiase from WGR 550 in Buffalo and the Locked On Sabres podcast. To everyone who watched and listened, for YouTube, Trev and Matty Kassian, I'm Tom Gazzola saying ciao for now. Enjoy the Oilers versus the Sabres. We'll catch you on the post-game show.